changes up to Obey Alliance. A little bit early, I suppose, but I mean, that's what they wanted. Welcome back. Obey Alliance, weekend's gone. And honestly, I gotta write a whole different video about weekend leaving and what it means, because everybody's gonna meme in the comments, but y'all are gonna miss him. I'm dead serious. Realistically speaking, though, the world goes on, and Obey Alliance are the next team that are trying to do something, and they're trying to do it with Cyno. I was not quiet. I would like to have seen layers here, and there are so many, well, layers here. Let's go over the other people, as far as, like, you know, why we wound up on Cyno. I think a lot of people look at Andinster, and I'm gonna pull my Stephen A. Smith here. He's a good friend of mine. I love Andinster. Actually, my Stephen A. Smith now sounds like Bernie, but whatever. You know, I'm here once again telling you that Andinster is no longer a top tier player. I love the kid, but I just think, you know, it's been a while since he was on top of the crop. I was excited when we explored the world of carry for him, but obviously metas change and we all move forward. Outside of Amundster, Johnny coming out from Europe. I think Johnny is a great look. If there wasn't a pandemic and we could just have people here live in LAN at a moment's notice, I think Johnny's the guy. When we look at this Obey, and Johnny's split up too, because when we look at this Obey Alliance roster, we have to ask ourselves what we need as well as what we're losing. And with Weekend leaving, what we're losing is a lot off the field. On the field, not really succeeding, so whatever. So we look at Andy, and I just go, not at the level of quality that we really want. Johnny, for those that don't know, D-Z-O-N-I, he plays in the minor league. He crushes it. He looks like old adapting. He comes through, he goes 12-0, and he wins his team the game. He plays a lot of Alquang, a lot of Kali, characters that just hardcore like carry. And a lot of people have conversations about whether or not this will translate from the minor league to the pro league, and that is a valid conversation. But the play style alone is something that's intriguing and interesting and something that we haven't seen in a while. I would like to see Johnny, because he's this player that I think is dynamic, and what we are losing in Obey is team identity, and I'll get to that in a second. But I think that Johnny would have been able to make this his own, or at least contribute to making this his own team, and that would be fun to watch as a fan. As a unit, whether or not how well that would work, I'm not sure. Johnny right now is performing with, I think they call themselves Belt Slap, Zero's a squad, and it's the first time he's been away from his usual team of Sibi and everybody. They're usually the Russians or the Eastern European guys. And they usually have a team going. Shout out Sibi, by the way. I like that dude. But the Eastern Europeans, Johnny finally excised and is working with them, as well as Julio kind of leaving his regional team as well. So Belt Slap has been fun to watch for that reason. But getting back to the main point, Johnny would have been interesting to look here, but not going to be the case because I think of the situation. Having genetics play from EU with high ping is one thing. If you want a video on genetics, let me know in the comments. Having genetics from EU is one thing. One, I think genetics is one of the best support players we've seen in a long time. And also, it's support. You can play Terra on 150 ping. Sorry, buddy. That's just how that works. Hard carry junglers? I'm a little bit more trepidatious about that call. So I think it makes sense to leave Johnny out in there. Worst turtle got a shout out? No. El Leon, the artist formerly known as Chapo. Is it Leon or Leon? I know Andy very well, and I've never asked him how to pronounce his name. Anyway, Leon, he would be interesting here, actually. I don't hate the idea of Leon in the jungle. He's very vocal. He's a big shot caller, which has been part of the issue here with Obey Alliance. And I think that would have been an okay look. But again, Stephen A. Smith hat, love the dude. He's a good friend of mine, but I just don't think he's capable of the level of play. Maybe, and Leon is a guy that I would love to be proven wrong, dude. I just don't think that Leon is an SPL caliber player. Conversations about what he did in the minor league, whatever, dude. I don't think it was overly egregious. I think he handled it incredibly poorly, and if he had a chance to go back and change things, maybe he would have. But I don't think that's a reason to, like, you know, ban this guy, whether officially or culturally. You know, I'm not sitting here going, like, forget him at all. I shouldn't say I don't really care, but with the right apology, I'm over it. You know what I mean? Yo, shouts to Cole liking my tweet. So that leads us with 2 players. Really, what that leaves us with is Cyno and Layers of Death. There might be a couple of other junglers that I'm just missing, but I don't really know. I don't really think so. I think these are the guys. You know, Homie Effie. I'm always interested in the Iron Homie, but it's been a long time since he played, and fans love to bring out names like that. You know, oh, new support. What about Jigs? And like, dude, I don't know what these guys are doing, but like, Garz isn't coming back. I'm sorry, homie. Like, sometimes it's just over. It would be sick for the Iron Homie to come back, but I don't think that's going to be the case. And I really can't think of any other junglers in the conversation. So Layers and Cyno are my 2 choices for who Obey could realistically look at. It's obviously Cyno, so I'll go to why I think Layers would have been the better choice, because while I don't think Cyno was a dud, I think Layers would have been the better choice. And I think Cyno will be, with Obey Alliance taking Cyno as their jungler of choice, we will see an immediate surge in how well they play. However, I think that their future is limited. If they had played with somebody like Layers, I think their level of talent might not have like surged forward. I think the level of talent on Obey might have been about even, or maybe even a step backwards, which people would hate to see. But as Layers became acclimated to the Smite Pro League, as Bobby became more around this team, this squad, I think, is a team that lacks shot calling. And Layers of Death, Chaotic Purpose, my man, long hair, don't care, not exactly his forte. He's not a shot caller, which is why I think it would have worked. Obey has an identity vacuum here. All the teams in the league have an identity. We look at Aurora's team, Polar Bear Mike's team, Barrett and Jeff's team. And sure, other people might be the stars of this team, other people might do the carrying on this team, but when we look at those, that's the identity of this team. Weekend's team has been a team in the Smite Pro League for a long time, and now there's an opening. There's an identity spot. There's a team opening. I know Obey, but think about it culturally. And if this could become that the consoles, like Bobby and Inbound, come together with Wowie, Wolfie, Ducky, you know, I have called this team the leftovers, like adoringly. Wolfie is the guy that's a year out of play. Inbound is honestly, not the most talented dude from the console scene, but the only one from the console scene making the transition and giving it another shot. Wowie has always been the leftover hunter. He is probably just as good as the guys on top, but never in that conversation because of lack of teams, lack of teamwork, or whatnot. And Ducky, again, kind of a similar story. Dude is always talked about as being good in the solo lane, does his job, but then you get Variety, and you get Benji, and you get all these other names, and then you're like, oh, I guess, yeah, we can go, yeah, Ducky's not bad, but you're already at team 6, 7, 8. And that's kind of the story of Obey. And so with Weekend leaving, giving them an identity spot, I think Layers and Inbound, Wolfie, Ducky, Wowie could kind of, Coach Cassier could take this over, right? And make this their team. They're not playing under anybody's shadow. This allows them to be their own entity, which gives you a lot of power and credence, and this is all in addition to the play on the field. Because the play on the field with Layers, I think, is absolutely there. I think Layers is a Smite Pro League capable jungler. I thought it was the case last year, and if you forgot, the VODs are out there. Go watch Layers play jungle and watch him create metas. Guan Yu jungle, maxing the 2, that's all Layers, baby. Thank you for, I mean, that was meta for a month or two. The PC guys were like, yeah. Give him Thor, you get sore. I'm a big Layers fan for a reason. We don't really get to see players like that. And frankly, I like the attitude. He reminds me of Scream. You know Scream's one of our favorite players on this channel, and I just like that. With Cyno coming in, so Cyno's a world champ. However, I don't really think of Cyno as the guy, the jungler. Brooks has been a player that has come out and done well, but I've never overly fallen over my feet over what he's been able to do. You know, I think he can catch steam. Cyno is one of the quintessential streak players, in my opinion. We see Cyno, can't give him Najah, can't give him a Wheelish, can't give him Robin, right? And I love that. But sometimes you can give him those picks, and he's not ultra reliable. Kind of what we were complaining about with the weekend. I was unfair, and I said nobody wants to play with Cyno. And I think that was a hasty comment. Cyno has a history of being difficult to play with. He can get snarky. He can get accusatory. He can get frustrated. And that can cap his play from what I have heard and observed in my time with the Smite Pro League. So can Wolfie. Wowie and Ducky, I've only heard like the opposite of. In times of grief, they smile and they keep pushing. I'm not saying one is worse than the other. Zeros is one of my favorite competitors, and Zeros is notoriously difficult to work with. Difficult to work with doesn't mean impossible. Difficult to work with doesn't mean a bad thing. I mean, I guess it kind of does. But you can play around it, and you should, if the guy's as good as Zeros. Cyno rides that line for me. Sometimes Cyno's good enough to deal with the bullshit. Sometimes he's not. So with Cyno coming in, the positive is he's got a big mouth. He is a shot caller. He is a comms leader. And that's what this team does need. So upon entering, I think Obey Alliance will be a better team. First and foremost, will they get their victory? Honestly, Cyno's first game is today versus Sanguine. Yes, they win this game. They win this game, and I hate that it's versus Sanguine. They're going to win this game, and Cyno will be a part of the reason. And they won't peak. They will continue to get better, but I think it'll be like this. Right? So if Obey is currently here, and Cyno comes in, they go, whoop. But I maintain that with a player like Layers, they wouldn't see the zhoop, but they would see a instead of a. As you can tell, I'm very good with my words. But I wish Cyno the best of luck and Obey Alliance here. There's another video about Weekend leaving the SPL. And there's another video about sort of what I meant about team identities. But holler at me with who you think would have been the better pick. I really think if you're saying anyone other than Cyno and Layers, you're kind of wrong. I'm almost confident in that statement. If you're saying anyone but Cyno or Layers, you're kind of wrong. And I think it just depends on what kind of impact you want. If I'm looking for a long-term impact, which I am in the Smite Pro League in 2020, I'm getting Layers, and there's a conversation about Cyno for sure. I'm not saying I just pick Layers and never look behind, but I think Cyno is the short-term solution. I expect them to win in the immediate future, and I don't know how much I expect them to continue to grow in that direction. I am not rooting against them. I do not wish ill will upon Cyno. I would love to see him win again. He's not a bad guy. I'm not saying that at all. I just would love to see Layers in the position. I think this was maybe a scouting oversight. I don't know. Good luck, Cyno, and good luck, Obey Alliance. We stream every day on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/fswag. Don't miss it. Weekends is Smite. Weekdays, usually Smite, but I'm trying to find other games. So I want you to comment on the video to help my metrics and like boost that and allow me to be more visible on the YouTube platform. But I also legitimately want feedback. Let me know more stuff to put on YouTube, more stuff to put on Twitch, and more stuff to put up my butt. Nope.